I'm Peter Kahn from Rutgers University in New Jersey. With respect to the R&D, 30 or more years ago, and for decades and decades, we used to support R&D, both basic and transfer technology, at our agricultural experiment stations and at places all over the country. And that's how our extension system grew. You could depend on long-term support for projects that took several years to come to fruition. Beginning about 30 years ago, that support began to be withdrawn. And now, you have to put out a 3-year grant, show results in 3 years, or you don't get a renewal, and that's the end of it. And yet, most agricultural projects take longer than that to get anywhere. The argument that was made is, leave it to private industry, they'll do it. And that became the mantra for reduction of agricultural investment all over the country. That would have to be reversed if the system is to survive, because it's been disintegrating ever since in this country and provides a justification for not developing it elsewhere. The second comment concerns the $800 a ton needed to get grain from the middle of the United States to Kenya versus $150 from Western Kenya. I think the only way to solve that problem would be to unelect certain congressmen and senators. And then to redirect certain income so that the people in the Midwest don't lose out too badly.
I just want to share an observation, which is the way African leaders are responding to the R&D funding question. They have noticed, and I don't know how they have found this out, that there isn't a whole lot of public sector funding going to African agriculture. But they have also noticed that private companies have significantly increased their funding and in areas that have relevance to Africa. And there's one interesting case where a major beverage company has bought breweries in one country, and as part of the philanthropic contribution of that company, the head of state of the country in question has asked this company to fund R&D in one of the universities, but has not asked the donor agency from which that company is located. So it appears to me that African leaders are responding to the R&D question differently. Instead of demanding that the public sector in the donor country increases its funding, they are actually going to where the R&D is actually happening. And that, to me, opens up real interesting possibilities of starting to create new partnerships between large corporations that have R&D programs with African research institutions and universities. And maybe this is an area where donors might find a way of helping to leverage those kinds of partnerships. But this creativity is coming from the African leaders, not coming from the public sector in the industrialized countries.